Women Patriots. On this November 5th, it is election day across the country. In Alabama, we got a Tea Party Patriot running against a established Republican. We have a Virginia race currently going on against a Tea Party favorite, with whom the GOP establishment did not spend money here in the last few weeks of the campaign, against a very corrupt Obama-lite Terry McAuliffe and Ken Cuccinelli. Right now, with 18% reporting, we have Cuccinelli at 52.2%, Terry McAuliffe at 40%, Robert Sarvis at 7.8%. And because of this election, I was actually in Virginia this past weekend as part of a force to get out the vote, because they didn't think the voting, they thought only about 30% were going to turn out. So it was very important. Every last vote's going to count. And so that's why we're going to start with voting election integrity, because not only has the Ken Cuccinelli been outspent 10-1, the lies being perpetuated by the Democratic Party itself in Virginia are ludicrous. They were robocalling Republicans, misrepresenting the positions held by Ken Cuccinelli. They were calling to say that Cuccinelli supported Obamacare and tax funding of abortion. Can you guys hear me? Anyway, they were tax funding, so they were misrepresenting Ken Cuccinelli. They were robocalling Republicans and conservative parties. But that's not just it. They sent out flyers to the Democratic voters saying that they showed where they had voted in the past, and they would know if they voted in this election or not, almost threatening them. This is the Democratic National Party in Virginia. But we went there as part of a grassroots campaign to knock on doors and get out the vote for Ken Cuccinelli. There was a great presence. It really was heartening to me to see. There was a group of young people out there, and we had a group from the Citadel and a group from Patriot Voices. But it was a very interesting weekend, and we're going to be closely following that race. They made it about abortion, which is really because the Democrat was hitting the airways saying, Ken Cuccinelli was going to take away your birth control. It is amazing to me that women fall for this line. It is upsetting to me that women vote for this line instead of voting by actually doing research, because they're saying that exit polls show that 2-1 women were going for McAuliffe, and they were voting because of abortion. And just really disgusts me that we're reduced once again to body parts by the Democratic Party. This is the war on women. Like, we're too stupid to use our minds, and apparently women are proving it true. And at that point, I'm going to welcome to the show Miss Barbara Buffing. Hey, Barbara.
Hello, everybody. How is everybody tonight? I hope good.
Okay.
You're so right about women voting. They voted for Clinton because he was cute, not even knowing what the policies are, what the issues are, except their self-centered ways. I heard on Sean Hannity today on my way home from work, he was taking some callers, and that's exactly what one of the callers said. She said these women need to vote with their brains and not just one part of their body, because that's what they focus on, like, oh, you're not going to take away my birth control. Well, nobody wants to take away your birth control. Pay for it yourself, damn it. No, I don't want to have to pay for it.
It's funny how they changed the argument that way, isn't it?
It really is. It's sad. it's really sad that people just do that. And then this is why our country is the way it is, because people don't know the issues. I've been sitting down talking to this girl at work, and she'll bring up some issues, and she doesn't even, I'll tell her, what the issues are, and she's like, well, I don't need that. What the hell are they doing that for? Because that's what they're doing. Well, that's not right. Yeah, no kidding. That's why I'm actively involved in doing what I do. And then, of course, we get busy at work, so everybody scatters about their own way. But, everybody wants to say something, but people just don't want to do anything about it.
Yeah, it gets pretty frustrating, and I don't know, Jude, what have you seen as far as this issue, or what can we actually do? I think we need to start I don't know how to educate people.
Well, I can definitely speak to that. I'm very interested in hearing more about your experience in Virginia, but just to hit a little bit, to me, what I always hit on the most, like when I'm writing and when I'm speaking about, especially the opposition, is the fact that they have to lie. All they have are lies to try and bolster their position. They have to lie to you because anybody who starts hearing, and this is also why they demonize all the conservative talkers. They demonize anybody on the right, from Sarah Palin to Ted Cruz. They will trash and trash and trash them because they know that when people hear what they have to say, it makes sense. Conservatism makes sense. And the Democrats continually prove, every time they open their mouths practically, they prove everything that they are saying the Republicans are. They are sexist. They're insulting. I don't even have the words for it right at the second, because you see, if you want to know what Democrats think of women, just look at what they say about conservative women. Here you have like Sarah Palin. She's beautiful. She's absolutely drop-dead gorgeous, if you want to be honest about it. And she's articulate, and they can't stand that. So they have to demonize and demonize and demonize, because ridicule is that powerful thing. People who don't think deeply about things will take that ridicule. And this kind of goes into a topic that we sort of wanted to get into, which is sort of that the establishment GOP thing. The GOP is doing that same thing. They are just echoing everything that the Democrats say. They're on that same bandwagon of trashing the real conservatives. And then they'll turn around and say, well, you guys, we need to unify. You guys have to stop being so divisive. It's the establishment GOP that's being divisive, and that is they have destroyed themselves. Meanwhile, the conservatives, the 5 or 6 that we can name, Cruz, Lee, Gohmert, Gowdy, Rand Paul, they're the only ones standing against tyranny, and they get trashed. They get trashed by the Democrats. We expect that. But they get trashed by the Republicans.
Absolutely, and it just totally disgusts me. It just totally disgusts me. We have, of course, they've announced that Chris Christie has won in New Jersey, which we know, and this is who they're going to push at us in the next election. It's going to be a Chris Christie or a Jeb Bush, and they're going to say, well, see, the abortion argument doesn't win. Look, I'm still hoping that Cuccinelli pulls this out. Let me give a quick update. We're at 25% reporting. We have Ken Cuccinelli still at 51.2%, with Terry McAuliffe at 41.4%, and Obama plant Robert Sarvis at 7.4% of the vote. And Lieutenant Governor, it's about an even race, with the Democrat polling 50.6%, and the Republican, who is a black conservative preacher, is at 49.4%. And I should point out that we're getting most of the counties, that the red counties are coming in, so we'll have to kind of watch that as the night goes on. Unfortunately, there were reports this morning of machines not working and no backup paper in Loudoun County, which is a swing county there in Virginia. Oh, gee, coincidence? Oh, I think not, because we know they are going to be cheating. And that's the whole purpose of our point of being in Virginia today, was to try to get the voters out, because the way you overcome the cheating is to have a higher turnout. But I cannot understand why you would only have a 30 to 40% voter turnout with everything that's going on in Washington at this moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with Obamacare, people losing their insurance, with the spying, with did you guys see the executive order from last Friday?
I didn't.
Yeah.
Can you talk about it?
Barbara, you want to give that one a go?
Global warming.
Oh yeah, I did hear, but yeah, go into detail on that, because I only heard about it briefly.
You know, I didn't bring it up.
Well, hang on, let me. Well, what it is, yeah, it's preparing the United States for the impacts of climate change. So now they're going to have to, you know, take over our water supplies. It gives direction to federal agencies on managing government operations within the executive branch with full force of the law and within the influence of the Constitution and statutory authority of the president. Okay, anyway, but this it's for climate action plan to cut carbon pollution and prepare the United States for impacts of climate change and lead international efforts. And they're saying because increasing periods of high temperatures and more heavy downpours and increase in wildfires, more severe droughts, permafrost thawing, ocean acidification, and sea levels rise, and it's affecting communities. Therefore, the government's going to have to get in and do some more regulations on us, the American people, to take away, you know, to prevent this, climate change.
You know, I've been reading some, you know, little bits of stuff that that this is man-made climate changing is what they're doing. I didn't really read into it a whole lot because I'm thinking, you know, this is really weird and far-fetched. But with this administration and these people that are up there in office and their connections, I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing scientific projects on the American people, like doing stuff like this. It would not surprise me.
What I find so funny is that they could regulate every little last iota of things to regulate, and they would still be no match for Mother Nature, because Mother Nature is a fickle bitch.
Yeah, Mother Nature is going to have her way, and weather patterns are cyclic. And now we're heading for first for warming, which didn't happen because they fudged their books and it was a big lie. But now we're heading for a second ice age. And in this directive, here's the part that's scary. Section 3 is managing lands and water for climate preparedness. Now, what managing lands and water has to do with climate preparedness, I don't know. But, you know, he's giving the executive order so they can inventory and assess, propose, and completed changes to their land and water-related policies, programs and regulations necessary to make the nation's watersheds, natural resources, and ecosystems and the communities and economies that depend on them more resilient in the face of a changing climate.
They just want more control of us.
It's more control, land and water.
And that's another thing that gets me is that it is all about control. And liberals used to be the ones who were screaming about, living without being controlled by government. You know, when there's a Republican in office, they scream and scream and screech about government imposition on our lives, and yet when it's liberal policy, they're all about as much government intrusion as you please.
Oh, and that's what I tell people too. I tell people if this was a Republican president, how would you feel?
Yeah, would you like to do that?
Yeah, I don't get very many answers.
That's the thing, and the other thing to tell that I'm always asking my liberal friends is, I just want you to apply 10% of the criticism, the critical thinking that you had against Bush and Rose and Cheney. All I want is 10. If you give 10% of that critical thinking to this administration, you'd be making some progress. You'd be 100% ahead, on understanding what the rest of us are opposing. It has nothing to do with the party, with Obama's party, with what it has to do with exactly what they're doing. And it's so hypocritical. You have to call out the hypocrisy at every chance that you get.
Oh, absolutely. And I do, trust me.
We've got to do more. We have to do more, and I think we're doing it with what we're doing, but we've really got to get to people that are so involved in everyday life that they really don't have a clue except for what the media tells them. And, hopefully they're not going to buy this lie that it's the insurance companies that are canceling, not Obamacare. I mean, oh, come on. Can it be any more obvious?
The insurance companies were forbidden to say anything, but somebody came out and said it. They have to change their policies because they don't meet the Obamacare requirements.
Yeah, many people just aren't getting it until it hits their own bottom line, and then they're going, and then you go, who are you going to believe, Obama or your lying eyes? Obama or your lying bottom line? Are you going to believe Obama when he says, if you like it, you can keep it? Or that letter that came in the mail that said, we're no longer doing your policy. You got to find something else in 60 days or less.
It's just, and the thing is, now he's covering his lies with more lies.
Yeah. And it's so obvious.
But everybody's still, and that's a big thing, too, is they're talking about him lying about his lies. They're talking about the website. And nobody's talking about the law is still unconstitutional. I don't know what part of that they're not understanding. And I am just beside myself because nobody is saying it. It's all about now the website, blah, 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 blah. So all these hearings in Congress about the website. I don't give a crap about the website. I care about the Constitution, and my constitutional rights as an American citizen are being taken away from me.
At every point, tyrannical fiat by tyrannical fiat. And the website is just a symptom. And
exactly.
What's really interesting is that they're saying now, I can't remember who was saying this on the radio today. I got it for like 5 minutes. But, that they should suspend the law until they figure this stuff out. Well, it's 3 years. They didn't think to suspend the law or to figure this stuff out in these whole 3 years that they had, and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. It's absolutely ridiculous. And you still have people who are like, well, it's going to be better. And you have more people losing their insurance than were uninsured in the first place. So now you have almost double now, and we're less than 6 weeks in, and we probably have double the amount of uninsured now than we did before Obamacare was even passed. But that's by design. because now you have to go, your company doesn't offer it anymore, you have to go, you have to turn to Obamacare. But now you can't even do that. And that's the real kicker, is they kind of wanted you to turn to Obamacare. And we all knew, and a lot of us said, I know I put it in writing, and a lot of conservatives did the same and said it out loud, that this whole plan is going to drive people off their plans. It's going to drive the employers to stop offering the insurance, and then people will have no other choice but to go to Obamacare. And we were right. We were right. They were wrong. Told you so. But now you can't even get the Obamacare insurance. You can't even really sign up on an exchange. And that, even though they want to drive us toward the single-payer system, that I think is going to be the undoing, because they don't have a single-payer system ready to catch all of this and say, yep.
Yet.
So I think people are going to be like, they're already being destroyed by this policy. It's affecting that thing that's the closest to home, which is your health. Every single individual.
Well,
you can't get away with it.
I found out the other day that kind of really upset me a whole lot. With my doctor, he was, I don't know, things were being really weird there at the doctor's office, and how he had to send my prescription to the local pharmacy as well as the mail-away pharmacy. And then I found out by a friend of mine, he sold his practice to the hospital.
Mm.
So most of them, they have to, Barbara. Most of them have done that here too. Well, they actually, and then they become employees of the hospital, because they can't afford to practice without the money behind them, because of the regulations.
But he thinks Obamacare is so good.
Oh, he thinks it is?
What's your practice, dude? You really think Obamacare is that good?
Yeah, most doctors, I don't think that way. But, I guess it depends. They probably, maybe he doesn't know what's in it. The ones who know what's in it.
I don't know.
So it's interesting, but doctors are leaving, and healthcare is the quality of care is going to go down for women and everybody, women included, and yet we're voting because this Democrat got on air with millions of dollars more than his opponent, and lied about contraceptives. I mean, really, where do these people think we live?
Well, we'll see how effective that is as we see the results, and I hope you'll keep giving us updates on that with the posting.
Well, I've got 39% reporting with Ken Cuccinelli at 50.3, Terry McAuliffe at 42.5, and Robert Sarvis, who is, we found, backed by an Obama bundler at 7.2%. So we've still quite got a bit to come in, but see it's right by Washington, D.C., in one of the big counties, so we know how that county is going to come out. Also in Alabama, we've got Bradley Byrne. He's a former state senator versus a Tea Party candidate, Dean Young, with just 1% reporting. We have Bradley Byrne at 61 and Young at 39. And in the lieutenant governor, we have the Democrat at 50.7 with the Republican at 49.3. So we'll see how that plays out. Can we call these Democratic voters racist because they're not voting for the black man in Virginia?
Yeah.
What a bunch of racists.
Because they're voting with their twats. Sorry. Their vaginas.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is a sad state of affairs, ladies. Yeah, sad state of affairs for women everywhere. And a lot of these are probably young women that have no clue, college kids, whatever. People that really don't have a clue.
Thinking, oh my, they're going to take away
where that
birth
critical
control.
thinking.
Yeah, critical thinking. Yeah, right.
What were you saying, Papa?
Yeah, Barbara, what did you say? I think we got a delay or something going on. So.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, something that I wanted to mention about, and I know I should write about this in particular, but, a point I wanted to make is that these creating government programs, and I hope that more people are seeing this with the passing of Obamacare and how it's playing out. When you create a government program, all you're doing is creating a middleman between you and the service or the product that you want. And it's interesting because I've seen this happen a lot with, my brother is autistic, and I've seen a lot of the groups that are supporting autism awareness or the like, and even groups on every level, local levels, even in my hometown, what they'll do is they want to get together, and actually the families getting together is really the best support that you could get. But what they want to do is go, oh, well, we want to apply for a nonprofit status, and we want to get a government program. We want to lobby for a government program to help autistic children or help special needs or help whatever your I'm sorry, the word escapes me. Whatever your
issue,
cause is, yeah, whatever your cause is, and all that you're doing is creating a program where you're saying, I want to give my tax dollars to pay a middleman to get between me and the services my autistic brother needs, or the help that my autistic brother could get. And if you took all those tax dollars and you just put them directly into the help you need without asking the government to create a program, you would get better results. You would have the accountability because your neighbor can go to you and say, wait, we pulled all this money together, our community, to help our special needs children, and X happened. Well, right. I know you, and I know where you live, and I know what you said, and I know what we put in writing, and you're accountable to me. But the government is never accountable. And what will they do? Sebelius, is she accountable to the American taxpayer who has paid all these $634 million for this website? Is Sebelius accountable to the American taxpayer who paid for that? No. Will she probably resign and never have to be accountable? Just like Clinton over Benghazi, she'll resign and go show up for Terry McAuliffe. And I saw her on that. Speaking of that, my husband was watching the news earlier, and she is holding Terry McAuliffe's hand and has her hands up, and I'm like, yay, you're a murderer with blood all over your hands for Terry McAuliffe, yay! I'm like, it's sick. It's absolutely sick. But what people are doing when they say, I want to create a government program for this, is just asking for inefficiency and asking for some government bureaucrats who won't be accountable to them to get between them and what they're saying they want. You want health care? Going through the government is going to get you the worst health care you can imagine.
Look what they did with Social Security.
Exactly.
And
Medicare.
It's
bankrupt and riddled with fraud, as every single government program is.
Yep.
And we can look to that history, but when you say that to your liberal voter, what do they think? Oh, well, as a friend of mine, as I was in this very conversation with him, said, oh, well, those, the industrialists, they were the most heartless people ever. And I'm like, those industrialists, who created the railroads, not the ones who worked for the government and bankrupted railroads, but, the ones who did it on private money, they did more for the private individual than any government program ever did.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
That's the end of rant on that subject.
We could go on and on this subject because it's the way, people don't understand. They think Medicare is great because, it covers everything, but what they don't understand is it doesn't reimburse the doctors enough.
Right.
And that's why some doctors will not take it. And the same thing with Medicaid. They pay even less than Medicare. And doctors cannot afford to practice, especially when they're doing between 15 to 30% of their time is spent making sure they're in compliance with Medicare regulations, because Medicare requires a whole different coding system. So not only do you have to code your billing differently, if you don't do it right, you can get charged with fraud. And so you have to hire people to do this, which increase the cost of delivering care. And yet people don't seem to understand, like you said, that middleman in the middle just creates more problems. And it's no longer between just you and your doctor. It's between you and the doctor and the government says this.
Right.
Even as far as medications you can have. You know, the Medicare won't pay for certain medications. You have to get the drug they say, not what the doctor says. And this is what people need to understand. Big government does. It limits your choice. And, of course, we all know that women and liberals are only pro-choice when it comes to killing an innocent life. They're not pro-choice in anything else. And, it's just, but, you know, it was Virginia, the weather was lovely. We were out just kind of knocking on doors and, trying to get out to vote. I don't know. We were putting our feet where our mouths were, and we got Rick Santorum Senator Santorum stopped, and we had a pizza dinner, and he thanked us all for our work there in Virginia. And this is what we're going to have to do, people, and we're going to have to do it in a big way, because the GOP has already declared war on the grassroots. Yep. They're going to say, oh, look, Chris Christie won by 70%. Yeah, but Chris Christie, is not a conservative. He's
their only choice. What other choice do they have?
Well, some guy, some Barbara Buono. Oh, and here's something else I want to say about Virginia. Now listen up, people, because this is going to play into, we have a special guest coming up who works with immigration reform in North Carolina. The Latino vote want McAuliffe because they want immigration reform. Think about that.
But were they legal to vote?
I don't know. Good question. Good question, but the Latino organizations were backing McAuliffe, all because they want us to make illegal immigrants legal, and therefore by expand the Democratic voting base, which is a low information voting base, as we've seen in prior elections, as they stand in line and can't even name who the vice presidential candidate is.
I know, it's funny, isn't it?
It's sad. I just want to cry sometimes. It's so sad.
I know.
But along with that, if you're listening out there, we are going to have a giveaway. Barbara, you want to tell them a little bit about that?
Well, I don't know if anybody's heard of Dennis Michael Lynch, but if you haven't, you need to, because he went out on his own and did a documentary about the immigrants coming in illegally and how we have such a nice government. They actually set up water holes for them so they don't get dehydrated when they come in. So we're also supplying this, whereas our people, our border security agents, can't do their job. And he went around and he did 2 documentaries on that. And if you buy one, you get 5. So I bought one, and I have 4 now, because I gave one away to my neighbor because he started talking about it a little bit and not understanding, he just was talking about what he heard from the news. I said, why don't you just go ahead and take these? I said, I don't need them back, but you watch them, and then you can pass them on to whoever you need to. because people really need to know the damage that is going to happen here. You leave these borders open, it's not just Mexicans coming in. It's Iranians. It's
Chinese and Muslims. Yeah, he really did a tremendous service by doing this documentary. And the first one, where what he did was he went all over the country, and he didn't just go to the borders. He didn't just go to one place or another. He really canvassed the whole country. He talked to politicians. He talked to candidates who were running, both on Republicans and Democrats, who wouldn't touch the illegal immigration issue. Neither of them. He went down to the border, talked with families on the border. He talked with the Border Patrol as they're going on boats, and they go in pairs. So there's all this. They go in pairs to protect each other in these boats on the Rio Grande, and there's all these everywhere they're not patrolling is completely all the illegal immigrants have to do is wait until the boat passes by and then go across. And they know where all the drug lords are, and they're extremely violent. And the people who live down on the border, they have to clear their houses. Can you imagine having to clear your house? And a lot of people don't know what that means. That means going around every corner with your loaded weapon to make sure that there is nobody else with a loaded weapon in your home, okay? I mean, that's serious business. Can you imagine having to clear your house room to room to make sure that there's no violent people in your room that want to squat in your house or that want to take from you or that want to do worse?
Right. It's just insane. And then when you try to make laws to protect your citizens like they did in Arizona, you deal with a government that sues the state instead of protecting the people of the United States. They sue the states and tell them they can't enforce the federal laws, which is just
stupid.
Insane. Yes.
Well, it increases, it all is of a piece here. Obamacare, illegal immigration, not enforcing the borders, not enforcing our laws, and Maureen Wilson from NC Fire, who's going to be on with us in just a few minutes. And NC Fire is North Carolinians for Immigration and Enforcement Reform, or Immigration Reform and Enforcement, I should say. This is all contributing to this pattern of lawlessness, which pits, it benefits the criminal and it punishes the law-abiding person, the law-abiding citizen, whether it's guns and gun control, whether it's Obamacare, and they're making it illegal for you to get the care that you used to be able to get. And then with illegal immigration, they're not prosecuting a lot of these illegal immigrants. In North Carolina, a lot of them are repeat offenders. They're being given driver's licenses in all sorts of states. They used to be given driver's licenses in North Carolina. This is all about lawlessness and chaos, and it's all contributing. It's all of the piece.
Absolutely, and it all goes to an overall agenda. And Obama spoke this outright. I don't know what people don't get about fundamentally changing America. I think they think we're going to be some utopia like Europe or something like that, but that's not his plan at all. His plan is more of a destruction, and we see it, the declining middle class, and yet the people in Washington have gotten richer. And the richest people are the actors and actresses that are out there, talking about, that are siding with Obama. These are your millionaires, but all you ever hear from the left is, it's the Koch brothers. It's the Koch brothers. Let me give a quick update on the elections. If you want to call in and join the conversation, our number is 347-237-5087. You are listening to Women Patriots. 59% reporting. We have 48% for Ken Cuccinelli, 44.9% for Terry McAuliffe, and 7% for Robert Sarvis. So that's where we're standing currently. Obviously, some of the bigger cities have quite a few precincts to yet report, and some of the counties yet have not reported in. So it's going to be close. They said it was going to be close. Well, we just went to 62% reporting. We still have Ken Cuccinelli at 48 and Terry McAuliffe at 45, and Obama plant Robert Sarvis at 7.1%. Can you believe that Robert Sarvis actually said he wanted a tax on mileage and that people are voting for him? Oh,
they want
just
to do that
insane.
here, too.
Yeah.
They're talking about that here because the people are getting these electric cars or whatever that don't use as much gas, and now they're not getting as much gas tax, so they want to tax you on the miles that you're driving.
I know,
they want
which is just stupid.
They want you to cut back on electricity. Okay, well, I do that anyway because I'm like too cheap to pay the power company, so I keep everything off as often as I can. And you know, now they just came out with they're going to be raising the rates. Okay, so how can you save money and if you're paying for all these dang increases on taxes?
Right, exactly, and they just don't get it. It's enough taxing. We're tired of the taxing. Cut out the waste. And they're going after coal, Barbara. And this is what I don't get about Virginia. You know, they're going to shut down your coal. And then where do people think we get electricity?
I know, right? I don't think they can. I honestly, Brenda, don't think they have that connection.
Which is scary. It's really scary. I think we need to raise the voter age back up to 21, and I would love to see it go to 25 because I don't think they have a clue. You know, it's just...
Yeah, but when they're in college, this is what they're getting taught by their professors. So they think they know because that's what's being taught to them.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. Well, they have called the race in Virginia for lieutenant governor going to Ralph Northam, who is the Democrat. So I guess the Virginia voters are racist because they didn't vote for E.W. Jackson, who is a black conservative. Shame on them. Interesting that the Attorney General race is at 52% for the Republican and 47% for the Democrat. And we are still at 48% for Ken and 45% for Terry. So we're going to keep watching it as that plays out through the night here on Women Patriots. And we're hoping that common sense prevails, but you never know.
Yeah.
There's not, like Herman Cain said, we need common sense, which much of America has lost. And we have stupid people running this country. And we found out just a couple of days ago that it was the Huntsman campaign that leaked the documents from when Herman Cain was supposedly accused of sexual harassment in the workplace. And were sealed documents, and it was Huntsman's campaign that leaked those to the press.
Yeah, what a weasel. What a weasel. And you know I was talking about this with a friend who's trying to say, you know, don't destroy the Republican Party. If all the people who had stayed home, you know, all the people who had voted, the 3 million who had voted for McCain had come out and voted for Romney, you know, they're responsible for Obamacare and all this crap. You know, if the Republicans had circled the wagons when Herman Cain was attacked, you know, if they had said, look, you know, you want to talk about unity, you want to talk about the 11th command, Reagan's 11th commandment that you don't criticize other Republicans in public. Where are the Republicans when a real conservative? Herman Cain was the only real conservative, in my opinion. I know you have to Santorum, but before Herman Cain went out, which I don't think he should have done, but Herman Cain was one of the strongest conservatives on that, you know, primary. And what did they do to him? You know,
yeah,
they
let him
let
him
hang.
He wasn't under the establishment. The establishment didn't want him. They got rid of him.
They couldn't have a black man win as head of the racist Tea Party. It didn't fit their narrative. And yeah, dude, I was actually behind. I was a true Herman Cain supporter.
Yeah.
Before I did Back Santorum, and it took us several weeks before we actually decided who was more closely with our views of the remaining candidates. But no, I was a huge.
Oh yeah,
Herman
you were on you and Teresa were on the Cain train, right?
Yes, this program actually started a couple of years ago as Lady Caniacs, and the people behind him were still backing him if he would have rode through the storm. Unfortunately, I don't think his wife's health was at the best, and the dirty politics. And you're right. Where were the rest of the Republicans saying, you know what, that happened all these years ago, and that has nothing to do.
If it even did, I mean, I don't really know that was. I mean, I don't. He never. I don't know. I don't really buy that stuff. I didn't hear about this whole document thing with Huntsman, but I thought it was trumped up. It sounded like he wasn't really prepared to deal with how vicious it was, and his family wasn't prepared to deal with how vicious it was. But imagine how fortified he would have been if the Republicans had circled around him like the Democrats circle around each other, even when they, you have Bill Clinton caught red-handed with the blue dress.
Right. It's like, because they have an agenda and they're going to see it through, and the established Republicans don't like their base. They don't like their base. We are their base, and they don't like us. And I said all through the primaries, Mitt Romney can't win. The base will not support him. And I was right. I didn't want to be right, and I went out and voted for him because I knew the alternative. And plus, I actually, after I got to know a little bit about him, thought he was a good man. I mean, yeah, he's got money, and he was part of the establishment, but we wouldn't be where we are today if he had actually been elected. We got 70% reporting, Ken Cuccinelli at 48%, Terry McAuliffe at 45%, Robert Sharvis 7%. Again, Obama Bundler funded the Libertarian Party so this man could run. Pretty sad state of affairs in politics. Dirty and underhanded.